Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I announced that I'm coaching Felix of the Tennis Brothers. And if you saw that video, you will have seen us on court together. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 3 of the things that we spoke about during that session, and I'm going to be breaking them down in more detail so that you can think about applying them to your tennis. Let's get into it. Welcome back and thanks for joining me in this video. If you're new to the channel, my name's Ashley Neves and I run the Tennis Mentor YouTube and Instagram accounts, providing content for players, coaches and parents to get more out of the sport. As I mentioned, recently I started coaching Felix. Felix is starting his journey on the Pro Tour and is playing in Futures and Challenger events on his quest to gain 1 ATP point and beyond. Now, I've joined Felix on this journey quite recently and I'm super excited to help him to reach his goals. Felix is actually documenting his tennis journey over on his YouTube channel, the Tennis Brothers. So if you haven't done so already, head over there and subscribe because it's really interesting. Alongside my usual tennis content, I'm also going to be documenting our journey together from a coach's perspective. So if that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing to this channel too. Anyway, let's take a deeper dive into one of our sessions together. One thing I'd say is the first thing your eyes can see when the ball leaves Macca's strings is the direction. So you know straight away whether it's a forehand or backhand. Yeah. So because you can tell whether it's a forehand or backhand straight away, prioritize that as your very first move. Super exaggerated early prep. And you'll find that you'll be able to time that ball even better out in front. Nice. Yeah. Hits a heavy ball, Macca, doesn't he? Heavy. I'm watching you. I'm listening to Macca's contact. So as he makes contact, prepare. Now. Early. Good. Come on. Yeah. Heavy. Earlier take back. That's the one. I felt like although you started the take back fairly early, it took quite a bit of time to get there. I feel like if you can exaggerate how much sooner you take the racket back, you're going to have that extra time on the ball. So just exaggerate it on these next few, just earlier prep with the racket. Yes. That's the one. They were so much better. How are you feeling, Macca? So the first thing you saw me talking to Felix about is super basic and something that you can apply to your tennis no matter what your level is. One of the most important things for any tennis player, whether you're a beginner or you're the greatest tennis player of all time, is reading the ball and preparing early. Now you'll notice that I asked Felix to prepare his racket as soon as he knows which direction the ball is coming in towards him. This means that as soon as he's made his split step at his opponent's contact, his job is to turn his upper body in his unit turn to get that racket prepared. This is something that you should do no matter what your level is. Unfortunately, generally you can't prepare your unit turn any earlier than this, as you need to wait to see which direction your opponent's going to be hitting the ball to. However, there are some things that you can look for to help you to prepare your positioning slightly earlier, which we'll talk about in tip number 2. However, preparing your racket super early is going to give you more time on the ball and more options with your shot. So next time you're practicing, really focus on reading the direction of the oncoming ball so that you can get your racket prepared in your unit turn. The reason I say unit turn is when you're preparing for a forehand or backhand, we don't want to be preparing with our arm. We need to make sure that our whole body turns in that unit turn so that we can really make the most of this upper body coil and make a nice efficient shot. This is going to help you with power, depth, but also control. There we go. Good. Good. Even though you cope way better with it on that side, it looked like it was just a tiny bit late to see the deep one. Prioritize your depth perception out of everything. So really hunt for the deep shots or any changes of depth and just see if you can react quicker. Yeah. Yes, on it. Well read. Good. Love it. That's huge slice. Now, this second tip links very closely in with the first tip, as it's very much to do with your reading skills and your early preparation. And here you'll notice that I spoke to Felix about reading the depth of the oncoming ball. Now, reading the depth of the oncoming ball is vital at any level of tennis. For beginners and recreational players, reading the depth is important for you to get yourself to the ball in the first place. And at the highest level of tennis, you need to have super sharp reading skills. As it's one thing knowing whether the ball's going deep or short, but it's another thing reacting quick enough to capitalize on those opportunities or defend against those challenges. Now, there are a lot of signals that can help you to tell whether your opponent's sending you a deep or a short ball, and this can actually be done before they make contact with the ball at the other end. Firstly, their court position. If you've hit a shot that pushes your opponent really, really far back, the chances are they're going to send you a slightly shorter ball. Whereas if you give them a short ball, they're much more likely to be able to attack and put that ball much deeper into the court. Equally, if you see your opponent stretched or jammed up on a shot, anytime they're uncomfortable, you should anticipate a slightly shorter ball, so taking a step forwards can help you to be ready to make that move. However, on the flip side of this, if your opponent looks super comfortable at the other end, you might want to consider taking a step back and being ready to defend on the next ball. As you saw there, I asked Felix to hunt for opportunities. Felix has got some really big weapons, especially on his forehand side, so if he can see those opportunities much earlier, he's going to be able to capitalize on them more often. Equally, Felix needs to be looking out for the deep balls, as if he reads the deep shot slightly too late, he's going to be defending. However, if he can be really sharp with his reading skills, he can get behind the ball quick enough to neutralize or even put his opponent under pressure. So next time you're training or playing a match, make sure you're tracking the depth of the oncoming ball so that you can look to capitalize and attack on the shorter balls and defend or neutralize more effectively when the ball comes in deep. Yeah. Love that. Saw that one so early. Pounced on it. Wow. Now, I know it's 3 shots ago, but that wide forehand you hit is a shot that I feel is going to make a huge impact to your...
The one that I went wide.
That's the type of shot that's going to transform that loss into a win. And it's like you just said, it's that movement that's the key rather than that movement. In this clip, you'll see me praising Felix's ability to open up the court more, picking up that slightly shorter, wider angle and returning it cross-court, breaking the tram lines before it breaks the baseline. Now, having the ability to open up the court at this level is vital, and Felix did it really, really well on this shot in particular. And this is an area that me and Felix are going to be working on slightly more to create more opportunities to open up the court and finish the point slightly earlier. Now, to do this, it's important to recognize the opportunity. It's much easier to create angles from angles. However, you can also create angles off slightly shorter balls. And the key here is to take the ball earlier. When moving out for a slightly wider ball, instead of moving in a straight line across the baseline, letting the ball drop, actually cutting across at a diagonal to take the ball earlier is not only going to create more angle, but because you're hitting the ball at a slightly higher point, it's much easier to get that ball up and down over the net. A common phrase that's used for this type of shot is cut and cross. This is where you cut off the angle and you hit your shot cross-court, opening up the court, looking to finish on the next ball. So next time you find yourself stuck in a long rally hitting up and down the middle with your opponent, look for a slightly shorter ball or slightly wider ball and look to hit that cut and cross to open up the court slightly more. The more you can find these opportunities and execute them, the shorter your points will be, allowing you to be more dominant in your matches. If you've got any questions about those 3 tips, let me know in the comments below. I'm not going to be telling you everything that we work on within Felix's game because for all I know, you could be his next opponent. But what I will be posting is interesting stuff from our journey together that I think you will benefit from. So as I mentioned earlier, if this sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing to this channel and the Tennis Brothers to follow us on our journey. Thanks as always for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.